Are you an expat looking to retire in Belize, but you're wondering where should you go within the country? Well, look no further. This video is going to break down all the different places you could retire to as an expat in Belize. At the very end, I'm going to tell you what my #1 pick would be. So the rest of them in no specific order. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons and what the lifestyle is there. Then you guys can make your decision. So let's start with Corozal in the northern end of the country. Some of the biggest benefits of Corozal are that you're right on the Mexico border. There's pros and cons to being on the border. The biggest one being that we don't have major department stores in the country of Belize. We're gonna do a video on this coming up in the following weeks, so get ready for that. But you can cross the border, go into Chetumal, which is right across the other side of the border, get any supplies you want from the department stores there. Maybe you want to get a Big Mac. We don't really have franchise fast food restaurants here, so you can go in there, then you can come back to Corozal. So I would say that's one of the biggest benefits of Corozal. The next biggest benefit is that Corozal is more affordable. So you will find waterfront properties for cheaper. You will find different areas that are more economical. But the trade-off to this is you're living in a less developed town. So Corozal doesn't really have any major amenities when you're actually on the Belize side of the border. You don't really have options for high-end restaurants. You don't have options for activities outside of a couple things. And the biggest factor, I would say, at least for me, is that the main reason why people look at Belize, or one of the biggest reasons, is the Belize, or the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef, I should say. It's a 181-mile long barrier reef that spans the entire front of the country. And when you're in Corozal, you're facing the Bay of Chetumal. So an average water depth of around 6 feet. You will find fish in there, but it's not gonna be anything like the aquarium that you're swimming in when you go to the barrier reef. So I would say for me, that's a big setback. But if you're someone that's just looking to have a place in Belize, you want to be close to Mexico to get up to Mexico for whatever reason, and you don't have the biggest budget, well then Corozal might be a great place for you. Moving along, I want to talk about San Ignacio. Now, if the ocean is not a priority for you, this might be one of the places that you really need to look at. As far as inland destinations go, San Ignacio is hands down my favorite to go to in the country of Belize. You have so many different restaurants there. You have bars. It doesn't have a huge nightlife scene, which for many of our viewers typically isn't a massive priority. You're in close proximity to Pine Ridge, which is a national park where you have waterfalls, caves, different pools like the Rio pools, 1,000-foot falls. You're close to the Guatemala border there. So you have an array of options, and you will find larger acreages over there. So it's gonna be a little bit different of a lifestyle. One thing I will say, you're not really going to find a major city atmosphere within the country of Belize because we only have 400,000 people in the country. So all of these areas that I'm going to mention in this video are going to be more of a smaller town vibe, with the exception of maybe the last one, which you could consider to have enough stuff to call it more of kind of a municipality with a lot of options. So that's San Ignacio. Highly recommend looking into it. Next up on our list, we have Placencia. Now, we get a lot of people asking us about Placencia, and it offers a lot of benefits. You have some restaurants down there. You have a couple bars. It is more of a retiree community, I would say. So you have more villas on the beach. The big downside of Placencia is that the reef also, again, is further away from the coast. So when you look at the watercolor, you're not gonna see those kind of aqua blue, bright blue colors that you're used to seeing maybe in videos about Belize, but you can get there. You just have to take a boat, and you're gonna see an array of keys and islands going from the land all the way out to the reef there. So that's a really interesting area. If you're someone that wants a slower pace of lifestyle, if you want to at least be close to the ocean. Now, from a price point standpoint, it's going to be on the higher end as far as places in Belize go, but there are still some great options in Placencia, and it's definitely a place that you should consider looking at. Let's move on. So right beside Placencia, you have the village of Hopkins. Now, Hopkins has a similar aesthetic to Placencia. It is a little more laid back. It is a cultural hub of Belize with the Garifuna community. There's some really nice resorts in Hopkins. Probably what you'll find from a price point standpoint is it's gonna be a little bit more affordable than Placencia. You're gonna have a similar landscape to what you would find in Placencia, and there's some great resorts over there to visit. Again, when you're looking at the amenities and the lifestyle of these places, you're gonna find they're more on the limited end. Hopkins is really just one long street that when you drive down and you'll see a few different commercial areas, then you'll see some of the bigger hotels on the beach, and that's really the extent of it. So Hopkins, somewhere to look at again if you want to be kind of in that Stan Creek area, which is a southern district of Belize, but maybe Placencia wasn't a good fit for you. Moving on, I want to talk about somewhere that is really more of a slow pace, and I've seen videos of people that said, we retired to Punta Gorda and it was not for us. Now, Punta Gorda is somewhere that has a population of about 5,000 people. So if you're looking for somewhere that you really want to be more remote, Punta Gorda might be for you. You're gonna find a few restaurants, maybe a bar that you can go to for an evening cocktail, a couple nice resorts like Copal Tree, which is one of my favorite resorts in the country, and a really nice culture down there. Also, you have some waterfalls, Mayan ruins, but from a population standpoint, there's not a lot of expats there, and you're gonna have limited options from a dining standpoint. But if you're someone, say, that wants to have maybe a cacao farm, or you want to just be in a remote area, then PG might be the spot for you, and that's my next one on the list here. Let's talk about Belmopan. So Belmopan is the capital city of Belize. It's called the Garden Town, and that's where you're gonna find all the government buildings. It's a very clean area. Now, the key factor with Belmopan that I would say is somewhat of a downside is that you're in essentially the very middle of Belize, which maybe you could see that as a pro as well. You can access different areas easier, but for me, it's not really giving me the mountain ranges and the hills or the ocean. So all of those core natural essences of Belize, it doesn't really hit those for me, but you will find affordable real estate. You'll find some good restaurants there. One of my favorite little cafes, Formosa Cafe, is in Belmopan. They got great food over there, great coffees. Every time I'm driving around the country, I always stop in there and get a little snack. But from a standpoint of living, again, you're gonna find limited expat community in that area, and you're gonna find more affordable real estate. So that brings me to the next island, which would be Caye Caulker. Now, again, a smaller area of the country. Caye Caulker has a few thousand people for its population. It's one main drag with a couple streets in the back. You're gonna find, because it is an island, typically what we have going on in the islands is island economics. So there's a limited amount of land available to purchase or develop. So you might find prices a little higher. Now, when we get to our last location, there's more land available still, so you're still gonna find some more affordable deals there. But Caye Caulker is somewhat smaller. One of my favorite restaurants, I was there last night, Pasta Picasso, that's on Caye Caulker. You have a lot of different bars, so from a activity standpoint, if partying is your thing, then Caye Caulker is probably gonna be for you. I would say out of everywhere in Belize, it has the youngest demographic, so everything from the people that are expats there down to the tourists coming through there, typically you're gonna find them to be a younger demographic. There's a lot of hostels, a lot of backpackers, a lot of bars that everyone is partying at. So if that's not your vibe, then Caye Caulker probably is not gonna be a good fit for you, but it's always nice to go for a little day trip. And if that is your vibe, then it just might be the ideal fit. Which brings me to my number one, and if you guys watch the channel, you already know what I'm gonna say. It's where I live, it's the island I'm sitting on right now. Of course, it's Ambergris Caye, the town of San Pedro. Now, why is that the case? Well, for me at least, I love getting out to the reef. I have my boats right here beside me at the office, so one of my favorite things to do on the weekend is jump on the boat, take off, go out spear fishing, go deep sea fishing, go fly fishing, go to a random beach with a speaker and set up a little barbecue with all my friends. And here is just unparalleled. You're about 400 yards away from the reef, so you have those options. Then the restaurants on the island, the island has more options from a dining standpoint. You have everything from fine dining down to street side jerk chicken and tacos. You have a lot of different bars, nightclubs like Sunset Lounge, Allure, all these different places you can go late night, and really just the most dynamic options from a livability standpoint, and probably the strongest expat community within the country of Belize. So for me, that was the priorities that I had. I wasn't looking to be somewhere remote. And just to give you guys context, even when you come to a place like San Pedro, if you're coming from a major US, Canadian, European, wherever it is, city, then you're gonna find that you might think, oh, I don't wanna go to San Pedro because I read on the blog that it's, you know, high pace and this and that. And I guarantee you, when you come from one of those cities and you go here, you're gonna say, yeah, this is a slower pace. So even coming to San Pedro is gonna be slower. So make sure you at least look at that before going and saying, I really want a slow pace. I'm gonna go to a PG, Punta Gorda, for example. And that will really tell you exactly what is gonna be a good fit for you. So guys, wanted to give you my 2 cents on the different places you can go. I hope you found this information to be helpful. If you did, please don't forget, like, subscribe. And as always, guys, we hope to see you out here in paradise soon.